all rental properties are warm and dry.
The Honourable Paul Goldsmith.
Mr Speaker, it's my pleasure to speak on this budget, which is a budget that is delivering for all New Zealanders. Mr Speaker, I want to deal with the strong economic forecasts that the budget documents laid them out. Mr Speaker, I want to talk about the improving fiscal forecast, and I do want to talk about the investment in public services and infrastructure for growth that we've seen in this budget, and reducing debt as the net percentage of GDP and the family incomes package. Mr Speaker, not many countries around the world today, developed countries, developed economies such as New Zealand, can point to such strong economic growth over an extended period. We're looking at this budget prospect of 3% growth, in excess of 3% growth every year for the next 4 or 5 years, which collectively will lead to a significant expansion in the New Zealand economy. And why is that important? Because it's only a strong economy that delivers the jobs, the incomes and the opportunities that all New Zealanders want for them and themselves and their families, Mr Speaker. And that's why we focus so much on strong economic growth in this country. And we've seen the 137,000 jobs that have been generated out of this economy in the last year. That's hard-working New Zealand businesses taking a risk, investing and taking on new people, investing in new plants, investing in new businesses, taking on the world in a competitive environment and succeeding and providing new jobs for New Zealanders. And that's what this economy is all about, and this budget shows the success that we've had. We've seen employment rate is one of the highest in the world. We have 76% of working-age New Zealanders in work. There's no other country that compares. Our friends in Australia only have 72%. Our friends in the European Union have barely 66%, Mr Speaker. And that's because there are so many jobs in this economy. We've seen a jobs boom in this country over the last few years. And in terms of the strength of the economy, what we've seen, Mr. Professor, you might listen if you have a chance here, what you've seen in the last few years is, notwithstanding a substantial drop in dairy incomes over 3 or 4 years ago, we still managed to expand exports every year, year on year, through that period, which demonstrates the diversity and sophistication of the New Zealand economy, part of which the export education sector, I'll talk a bit about later, continues to grow, about $4.5 billion. The high-tech sector, which is driven in part by the ideas and innovations coming out of our R&D sector, is a big part of that diverse economy that gives us the ability to ride our way through storms. And when I first came into Parliament 5 years ago, we had lectures every week from the Right Honourable Winston Peters and others about the woeful state of the current account deficit in New Zealand, and the fact that it had been nearly 7% of GDP, the current account deficit, back in 2008, when the previous administration, the Labour government, was in power. We were losing literally 7% of our GDP in terms of current account deficit. And we were told that the end of the world was happening and it was never going to turn around. But what we've seen is a continual upswing now that we're looking at about 3% of GDP at the moment, and delivering strongly, because that is the strength of the New Zealand economy. We've seen the construction sector growing. We've seen a strong response from the housing sector in terms of building new houses. And when we move on to the fiscal side, we look forward in the budget to a series of increasing fiscal surpluses. That is, that the government is spending less than it is drawing in terms of revenue. And that's important so that when investors are deciding whether to invest in hiring a new person or building a new business or taking a risk, they can look at the state of the New Zealand books, the New Zealand government books, and say, yes, what they are doing is sustainable. They can continue doing what they're doing at the moment for the next few years. They're not going to have to lurch off in a widely new direction because what they're doing cannot be sustained. They can have confidence to invest. And so, and while we're having those surpluses, we can continue to invest in capital expenditure, such as investing in infrastructure, building those roads, fixing the railway, investing in quality new schools. And we're able to do that without increasing our debt, because we have cash in excess in the surplus. And so over the next few years, We won't be having to borrow extra money. We will be able to reduce our debt as a percentage of GDP because the economy continues to grow, and that enables New Zealand to be much more resilient for the next crisis that comes along. And there will be another crisis of some sort, or we hope that that the geological disasters that we've had in the last few years won't repeat, but you can rest assured that there will be another global financial crisis of some point down the line. There will be recessions somewhere down the line, and New Zealand as a country needs to be resilient, and that's what we have shown, that we're going to be resilient, and New Zealand is able to respond and borrow if we need to in those circumstances. But we can't do that if, like many other countries in the world, we have a high level of debt going into those periods, and that's why we're determined to get that debt down, give ourselves the flexibility that we need to grow. Now, Mr. Speaker, in terms of my area, I do have the privilege of having the ability to guide our science and innovation spending in our tertiary sector, and we've made substantial investments in both those areas as part of the Innovative New Zealand part of the budget, following on from a very substantial infusion of new funds last budget, more than $700 million. This year, we're putting another $300 million in order to strengthen the scientific and innovative capacity of New Zealand over the years, so that our companies can be more competitive internationally, infused by quality ideas and innovations coming out of our universities and through our Crown Research Institutes, and so that we can continue to see the massive investment by the private sector in R&D. We've seen that growing by 29% over the last 2 years, partly encouraged by the growth grants through Callaghan. And also that through our tertiary system we can continue to deliver the skills that are required for a growing economy and a more highly sophisticated economy. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, for the first time we've had an increase across the board for tertiary providers, about $70 million over the next 4 years. That's why we've continued to put extra resources into the PBRF, which is that part of the tertiary system that rewards research excellence, and why we've done that consistently over the past few years, so that those well springs of knowledge and scientific ability that capability can be built up in the economy and used not just by our companies to make them more internationally competitive, but also the other primary contribution that the science sector makes is that it helps inform our decision-making in government, so that we have fact-based decision-making around the regulations that we bring in, the way that we deal with challenges such as water quality, the way that we deal with preserving our biological heritage, such as the work that Maggie Barry has been working on, the extent to which we can deal with those national science challenges that we are funding depends on the capability within our system, and they help us preserve what is special and preserve and enhance what is special about New Zealand. So science is about delivering new ideas and innovation and skills to help power the New Zealand companies so they can be more successful internationally. But it's also about helping us preserve and enhance what is special about New Zealand, which is the quality of our environment, our high levels of social cohesion. And it's also fundamentally about us contributing to the global store of knowledge, because we may be a small country, but we're not freeloaders. We don't just sit back and accept all the scientific work of the rest of the world. We contribute to it. That's why we've invested an extra $20-odd million into Antarctica research. That's an area that we're close to, and we can make a contribution. We can understand what happened in the ancient history of the ice down in Antarctica to get a better understanding of our global climate history. That's why we continue to invest in our understanding of the geological challenges of New Zealand, the earthquakes, the volcanoes. We're on the Ring of Fire, and the rest of the world expects us to know a bit about that, and we can make that contribution, and that's why we continue to make the investment that we do. Mr. Speaker, this is a confident budget for a confident nation that has its best years ahead of it, and for 8.5 years this government has provided a strong, stable government that's enabled New Zealanders to have the confidence to invest The economy continues to grow. We've got a great set of fiscal forecasts out ahead of us. Stephen Joyce has done a great job, and it's a privilege for me to be able to commend this budget to the House. Thank you very much.
And I understand this will be a split call. I'll ring the bell at 4 minutes. Pini Henare.
Tēnā koe te māngai o te whare.